Going 5, 4.
Hello and welcome to On the Other Hoof. The Cheltenham Festival is only 5 days away and we're going to continue our Cheltenham countdown with the 3 Novice Hurdles. And next week we're joined by special guest Oli Bell. Good evening, Oli.
Evening, lads. How are we?
Splendid. Excited as always.
Yeah, it's going to be great 4 days. It gets to this time of year and I always just want it to get underway. So I can do without the Imperial Cup, to be honest, and just want to get my way down to Cheltenham. But it's going to be a great 4 days. I think we've got some brilliant horses on show this year, and particularly in the novice races, which I think we're talking about in a minute. So it should be a good week.
The Imperial Cup's one of the best days racing of the year. I don't know what you're talking about.
I should say I am looking forward to the Imperial Cup, but it gets to something where Cheltenham's firmly on our minds, I think.
We're also joined by Adam Webb and Timeform's Calum Madell. Good evening, gentlemen.
Evening.
I know Adam's in particular has got a few strong fancies for Cheltenham. Unfortunately, he agrees with Oli quite a bit on that. So
nothing wrong with that.
No,
think they're going to get the winners or not, Luke?
Yeah, I think there is something wrong with that. Yeah, financial obligations aren't good for you, I'm afraid.
Right, we'll get straight into it then. Supreme Novices is up first, but we'll say before we get started, if you want to contact us at On the Other Hoof with any fancies or questions you have surrounding Cheltenham, in particular the Novice Hurdles that we're going to be covering tonight, then you can tweet us at On the Other Hoof. We'll read out every question towards the end of the show. We're going to start off with the Supreme, though, where Douvan, well, he's been a bit more of a speculative one, where he's been impressive the twice we've seen him over in Ireland, but the price is a bit short and a few people have been knocking him on that front. Could you have him at a 7-4 favourite?
It's an interesting one because I was looking at the races earlier today, and I actually spoke to Ruby Walsh today on Racing UK, and he said a couple of things that interested me. The first is that, are you more confident this year with Douvan than you are with the Tour? And given what Willie Mullins has said and the sort of confidence behind him in the market, etc., he said, well, no, not at all, really, because the Tour had slightly more sort of proven himself. I watched the races back between him and Lamy Surge, and I mean, I'm just completely drawn to Douvan as a horse. I think the price has gone. I think he's too short at 7-4. But I think there is every chance he's going to prove the reputation completely correct. So there might be a slight contradiction what I'm saying there. But the reasons why I like him is the fact that the way he hurdles, particularly in Ireland last time out, he was so fluent and athletic over his hurdles. It was like he just sort of whizzed straight, from A to B, and he never interrupted his stride. Ruby said that they've gone a decent clip that day, despite there being a few stayers in the lineup. They've still got a decent pace, and yet he did it like he passed them like they were trees. He did everything on the bridle, and he was going away from them at the line. It was really, really impressive. We all know that the reputation's there, the price has gone, but I mean everything about him is that of a leading Supreme candidate. I'm not saying that he's a great bet at 7-4, but I think he's got, as everyone knows, he's got every chance. But I personally, of the two of them, and I know we'll get onto Lamy Surge in a minute, but of the two of them, my inclination is that Douvan is fundamentally a better horse for this year's Supreme than Lamy Surge.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I'd be interested in Douvan more of fences as well, and next year maybe with an eye to an art. But we'll focus on this year first. Calum, we had Oli there saying Douvan travels especially well. Lamy Surge is a different kind of horse, isn't he? He just takes a while to get rousted up, but once he does, he's a very, very impressive horse.
I think it's fair to say that Douvan's got the style and Lamy Surge is more the substance in terms of form, but Douvan, I much prefer him. I agree with Oli, I much prefer him for the Supreme. I think he just oozes class. The thing about Lamy Surge that worries me is Henderson's record in the race. I mean, just think of the amount of the type of horses he's had to beat in this race. Sprinter Sacre, Spirit Sun, Darlan, My Tent or Yours, and I think he sees this as a stepping stone for next season, very much so, whereas Mullins uses the Novices as a proper Cheltenham race. His record in Novices is outstanding. The price is gone, but I much prefer Douvan out of the pair, and I think it's between the two. On ratings, we've got them both top. Lamy Surge is one ahead, but Douvan has a large P next to his name, and Lamy Surge has a small P. I think that pretty much reflects where they are at the moment, but Lamy Surge is the stronger form, but that's because he's had the chance to run in better races. But for me, Douvan is the one. I think he'll win the Supreme.
Yeah, it's coming into the race much more lightly raced than Lamy Surge, isn't he? Especially taking into account their French form. Adam, between the two, who would you be siding with at the market leaders?
I prefer Duvan. I have concerns about both of them. My concern about Duvan is his knee action. I don't know how he will fare with better ground, but if he does, he should easily win this race. Lamy Surge, my problem with him is the fact it took him so long to win a race. Yes, I understand that he's probably come into himself over the summer and going to Nicky Henderson off a handicap mark that he actually described as being bad. So the way he won the Jerry Fielden off 132 was really impressive. My concern is, how would he be in a battle? Because in France, he used to travel really well for his races, and he didn't look to find very much off the bridle. So it could be that the summer's grass, and he's better for it, but I still want to see him in a battle. And Duvan, I think, out of them two, I'd rather be on him, but I still have my concerns about the pair of them. It's an each-way betting race, I think. Outside the front two, you're looking for what's going to come third. So, but Duvan would be preferred one out of the two.
Yeah, as Ollie, as Adam mentioned there, that it's more of an each-way betting race. Potentially, price-wise tipped up QE. We've also got the likes of Alvizio Ville that's been highly touted by connections before this race. Would you be looking at anything at a bigger price?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Go on, Adam.
Sorry, I thought you were talking to me then.
No, crack on.
Never talking to you, Adam.
Good moment, Adam.
I've only got one in the race that I actually quite like, and I actually quite like Sizing John, who was impressive enough on debut. He then was beaten by Duvan, but he didn't really travel that day, and then he won the Grade 1 over Christmas, where his main rivals did fall by the wayside. I mean, Nichols Canyon got rid of Ruby Walsh, McKinley was pulled up, and I think 33 to 1 is slightly insulting for a Grade 1 winner, and I'm actually surprised his rating after 3 runs. Phil Smith has given him a mark of 139. Which, if you think about it, he'd be extremely well handicapped if he was to go for one. He obviously only got the entries in the novices. But I just think he could easily be one for a place, and he's one for the future, definitely. One next year when he goes jumping fences, I can't wait to see. Of the others, one other I will talk about is Alvizio Ville. I actually want them to stay at home with him. I just think he's a massive horse, and he is one definitely for the future. And when he goes chasing, he's going to be, I think, a superstar. But at this stage in his career, he ran well in the Deloitte, but that run sort of put me off a bit for this season. I'd rather them either keep him for later in the year or just put him away, and because it's all about the future for him. He could run well, but I just wouldn't see him for win purposes.
Yeah. So, Ollie, Adam mentioned a while ago that there was more of an each-way alternative in this race. QE was put up by price-wise, and Alvizio Ville has been touted up by connections. Would you be looking at more each-way angles in this?
The horse price that I thought was overpriced was Seedling.
Yes.
Who, again, lads, you don't want to be agreeing with me. This isn't a good start. So I thought he did really well at Cheltenham, actually, because the horse that went in for, was it Some Plan?
Yeah.
Bowl long out in front went clear, and no other horse really got in the race apart from Seedling. He did really well to pick him up. This horse isn't flashy. He's not going to be a Duvan type, but he's tough. He's got Cheltenham form. He's to a degree on the back of that. You know that he can stick his neck out in a battle. You know he'll get up the hill. He's got a lot of qualities that you want on your side going into a Supreme. Yes, he's got to improve in the form book if he's to get the better of the likes of Duvan and Lamy Surge, but I think he's about 33 to 1. When you look at the likes of Jolly Allen at 8 to 1, Jolly Allen just doesn't hurdle well enough to be a Supreme winner. I just don't think against the likes of Duvan and Lamy Surge you can bulldoze your way through every hurdle. There's an argument that they're going on good ground and at a better pace will bring out the best in him, but he hasn't done anything to make me think that he's a good hurdler at this stage or a respectful hurdler at this stage, and for that reason I couldn't side with him at relatively short odds each way in comparison to a horse like Seedling that I know is going to fight for me and finish. I'm not saying Jolly Allen wouldn't, but do you know what I mean? I just think he's a bigger priced alternative. But in looking at it, Callum mentioned there's a pound in Lamy Surge's favour, but more potential from Duvan. Effectively, is how time forms see it. Slightly more potential from Duvan. There's a pound in Duvan's favour on the official figures, and yet the form's rock solid for both of them. The reputation is rock solid for both of them, and yet, what is it? Is it 2 and a bit points different, 3 and a bit points difference between them in the market? I think the disparity in the price between Lamy Surge and Douvan is wrong. For all that I think Douvan is the horse that will win the Supreme, I think that either Douvan is too short or Lamy Surge is too big, and I'm guessing Douvan's too short, but which might mean Lamy Surge is probably the value to a point playing the race, but as I say, I think Douvan will win. I wouldn't back him at the price, but I think when you look at Lamy, I watched Lamy Surge in the Tolworth the other day, and I was particularly interested in the way they hurdle. I remember Nicky Henderson talking about See You Then, and he said, I know See You Then was a 3-time champion hurdle winner, but he mentioned about the speed from A to B. A couple of good horses in the past, and they always say he's so athletic and fluent over his hurdles. He loses no momentum, no stride, nothing. There's just, can't fault them over his hurdles. I couldn't fault Douvan over his hurdles. Lamy Surge is quite big over his hurdles in the Tolworth. He gets a lot of hang time, if you like. He does hurdle fluently. He made one mistake in the Tolworth down the back straight. On the whole, his hurdling is good, but as I said at the start, I just think everything about what I've seen in terms of the way they hurdle, in terms of their sort of, my instinct tells me that Douvan is more of a Supreme candidate. The prices, I think, are wrong. At a price, I think Seedling's a horse that is overpriced. Kiwi, I'm not sure about. I don't really know why, but I mean, it was impressive last time, but I haven't really warmed to it. Alvicio Ville, I couldn't have as a Supreme candidate. I was very disappointed by him last time out. So were plenty of people because he was sent off very short. As I said about Jolly Allen, I don't think he hurdles well enough. So, and also as well in a press day, but just on Jolly Allen quickly, I'm sort of plucking different names out of the sky in no particular order, but one from the top, 2 from the bottom, please, Bruce, I think is what I'm doing. But just on Jolly Allen, I said to Harry Fry in the weights lunch, or Harry actually mentioned it, he goes, I don't think there's much between Jolly's Cracked It, who I fancy in the Martin Pike, and Jolly Allen, in which case Jolly Allen, you can use a line through Jolly's Cracked It. If that's how his trainer assesses Jolly Allen in comparison to Jolly's Cracked It, he may not have given his running on very heavy ground in the Tolworth, Jolly's Cracked It, but that means Jolly Allen has an awful long way to go to get the better of Lamy Surge, if it is as sort of cut and dry as that in the trainer's eyes. But he did a good piece of work at Kempton the other day, Jolly Allen. But for me, Douvan, my instinct tells me will win the Supreme, and at a price Seedling. I should have just said that at the start because I've waffled on again. But there we go.
Yeah, I was going to say all of that, and you go for the 7-4 favourite.
You should have just listened to what Adam said. Just asked him for that. Kept his on.
You did touch on the prices there. We'll read them out now. Douvan at this present time is 7-4 favourite. Lamy Surge at 4-1. Jolly Allen is 8-1. It's 12-1 bar those with Shane's Hill and Nichols Canyon that we'll be talking about in a bit. Calum, we'll come to you because you've got a fair fancy for Seedling as well, don't you?
Yeah, I like Seedling. He's another horse. I think Ollie's pretty much touched on him that he's an improving horse since he's joined Warren Greatrix. He's really turned the corner. He's quite an experienced horse. Well, he's had about 10 starts already. So I was impressed by him at Cheltenham when giving weight away to some plan who's come and frank the form since the third as one as well. I think it's pretty solid form, to be honest. And he's also I think he's been a little bit underestimated at 20-1. I'd like to have seen him have a run since then, but obviously they've gone away from softer ground when they could have run in the Betfair Hurdle. But yeah, I think he's got a good chance. Of the others, I think Jolly Allen needs a lot of strengthening up to do. I think he's a big baby still. I can see him coming there travelling really well and just not finding a thing. QE again similar. He was a bit of a quirky horse for John Ox on the flat. I was really impressed last time at Newbury, but I think that's the kind of, I don't think you can replicate that kind of performance in the Supreme. So Seedling each way for me, but I think Douvan wins it.
Just quickly on that, horses who have ran on the flat have an awful record in the Supreme.
Yeah, good point.
Great. Yeah. I think this is going to be a race. We'll go across the panel in a second to get fancies for the race. I think it'll be a case of Douvan's the most likely winner. However, at the prices doesn't really appeal too much, and we try and find the each way alternative. We'll start with you, Adam. Your fancies for the Supreme.
I'm going to put Sizing John up each way.
Sizing only an each way one from you.
Yeah, I'm not going to put Douvan up to win. I'd rather just go with what I like. So I'll go with Sizing John each way. I think Douvan will win, but I'm not going to put it up as a selection.
Okay. Calum?
Just said mine. Douvan to win, Seedling each way.
Well, yeah, we're trying to do this all in one. Make it smooth. Did you not read the production sheet there?
Sorry.
We should start doing this. Ollie, your fancies?
It's a bit of a Calum Olin loving here, because I agree completely with Calum. I think Duvan to win, although he's plenty short enough, and Seedling at the prices each way.
Yeah, personally, I think Duvan is the most likely winner at that price, though. Wouldn't really be wanting to get too involved. There'll likely be a better offer by a bookmaker on the day. I think some plan at a bigger price is about 50 to 1, I think, in one place with Boyle Sports. I think that's a fantastic price. He's obviously got that form with Seedling, and if you fancy Seedling, you really have to put some plan into the equation as well. He won a weak race on Cheltenham Trials Day up at Musselburgh since that, but he looks a horse that's just going to get better and better with racing. He hurdles fluently enough, and I think the old course will suit him a bit better than the new one did last time. Last time he ran at Cheltenham, but 50 to 1 I think is worth a couple of quid each way. But as mentioned, Duvan probably is the most likely winner. We'll move on to the Neptune Novices Hurdle now, and surprise, surprise, Willie Mullins has another favourite here in the shape of Nichols Canyon. The market goes something like this, but Nichols Canyon at 9-2 favourite, Outlander next at 6 to 1, Parlour Games at 6 to 1, Winter Park then 7 to 1, Vita Do Rock's been fairly well backed recently now. This has been his confirmed target at 12 to 1. It's also 12 to 1 Duvan, who just spoke about, 14 to 1. Bar those, Callum, we'll start with you this time for the Neptune. Nichols Canyon is a horse that we weren't really all for. Then he made us look a bit foolish in the Deloitte.
Yeah, a little bit. He jumped superbly that day from the front. I think that's what was holding him back, his jumping, but they've seemed to have done a lot of stalling with him, and he jumped perfectly well. Being a flat horse that stayed really well on the flat, he's always, these horses when they go over hurdles always want to a little bit further for me. So the Neptune is the right race for me. I think he's got a really solid chance along with the other Mullins horse, Outlander. I think they've both got very solid chances. I think we're quite keen on Outlander on ratings. Parlour Games, I'm not sure about Parlour Games at the moment, because he's been winning slowly run Novice Hurdles, albeit pretty good races, but you know, his flat speed's just been coming into effect, and he's just been basically showing his turn of foot, in particular when he won at Cheltenham against Black Lion. So I'm not fully convinced he's going to prove himself in a more truly run race. I'm not fully convinced by him. Windsor Park, I don't see the fascination in the horse, if I'm honest, because he doesn't jump well enough. If he's not jumping well enough in small novice hurdles around in Ireland, then I don't see why he's going to jump better at championship pace. Vita De Rock, I think with the Parlour Games form, it is pretty solid. So Vita De Rock, with this being his aim, I quite like him. I don't see why Vita De Rock should be nearly double the price, considering there's not much between them on that Newbury run, and I think in a more truly run race on decent enough ground, I think there's going to be even less between them. So I quite like Vita De Rock now. It's his target, but it's really not a strong fancy in this race. I think it's a pretty poor race, if I'm honest. So, but I'll put him up.
Yeah, Adam, we'll come to you. With Vita De Rock, my one worry is similar to Lammy Surge's, really, that he doesn't pick up straight away. If he does that in the Neptune, then better horses could get away from him and make him look a little bit, well, get him outpaced at the wrong time of the race and leave him with a mountain to climb.
I thought the Albert Bartlett was ideal for him after the run in the Challow behind Parlour Games, but they've come here now, which, as I've just said, I think he's in the wrong race. I think he'll get outpaced at a crucial point and then stay on into a place. The ones at the top of the market, I actually disagree with Callum. I think that Nichols Canyon should be in the Supreme, because do what you've done on the Tour and Champagne Fever, just go from the front. I know Ruby wouldn't ride because he'd be riding Duvan, but if you sent him from the front, you could use that turn of foot, and it could be a deadly combination. I think in the Neptune, I'm not sure how they're going to ride him. Are they going to hold him up, or are they going to front row? Because I thought he was better going from the front, because at Leopardstown over Christmas, I can't explain what happened, but...
Well, it'll be a given that he's going to get a faster pace in the Neptune, won't it? That might just be what he wanted and what helped him jump more fluently. Yeah,
that's true. Of the others, I'll give him my fancy. I like one at a double figure price. I like Beast of Burden, who has got a good came into this season with a strong reputation and was entered up at Aintree first time out and didn't run. I remember that day because a lot of people were really sweet on this horse. And he got beat at Newbury, won at Fossas, and the run that really caught my eye was when he went up to 3 miles at Bangor and he beat Mendip Express. Now, the reason I like him for the Neptune is because he showed us a fair bit of pace that day, and he didn't look like the type that would want a grueling slog in an Albert Bartlett. And I just think, at the prices, he looked a bit overpriced. I know Ollie's going to touch on Old Ab Cow in a second. I like him as well at an each way price. That run on that form on trials there, I think is rock solid, and it'll turn out in a, as I've said to a few people, over the next couple of years, this race will work out really well. And he is another. They'd be the two from my shortlist. I really, really like Beast of Burden for this.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with you, Beast of Burden. I think I've already backed him each way for the race, actually. Ollie, first question to you. Nichols Canyon, we're 1 versus 1 at the moment with should he go to the Supreme, should he be in the Neptune? You're the deciding factor on that. And the second question is, how much of a chance does he have in the Neptune?
Well, I think the answer there is that he's going to go for the Neptune because they're just not going to beat Duvan, and then they want to have as many fingers in pies as possible in their eyes anyway. I don't mind him in the Neptune, but what I do think is important to him is what they do with him in the run, because I think he got low at his hurdles when they've tried to hold him up and be a bit cute with him in the races. And I think if he gets in behind horses, then his hurdling might be not found out, but I think the sort of frailties I think exist to a point might be exposed. When he made the running last time out, I thought he was very good over his hurdles. He was better. So that I think will prove to be the best way to ride him in time from the front, and I think that might be the plan. So the Neptune, the race. To be honest with you, I was impressed by him last time out. I thought it was a good piece of form. You could argue he may have had the run of the race, but the fact that Windsor Park got as close as he did after being held up last, I think, suggests that it was probably a fairly honest race. I like him. I like him more than Outlander, and the reason I'm not a fan of Outlander, and I'm sure if Willie and Brian and Jigginsdown are watching, they'll be
yeah, they are watching on the other
putting out their caviar or whatever it is that they eat on a Thursday before Cheltenham. But I think he's a bit ungenuine, to be honest, this horse. I think he should have beaten Martello Tower in that 3-runner race when he hit the front.
Yeah.
The gap opened up like the Red Sea on the rail when he went through last time out, and he's got to the front without having to do anything then. He's jumped the last, and you expect him, having travelled really nicely into the race, to just go and wing it and, win by 6, 7 going away. But his head carriage, as soon as he hit the front, goes right up in the air. And I'd just be concerned that if he had to really fight and win a Neptune, that I'm not sure it's in the locker at this stage of his career. And I may be unfairly painting him with that brush early on the back of what I saw with Martello Tower, but I would be slightly concerned that he wouldn't be a horse I'd necessarily want sort of my last 5 on in a fight at Cheltenham. I could be proved completely wrong, and his talent might get him to the front. But the fact of the matter is I don't think he's that far clear of these horses that he can get away with shirking it in a battle or travelling into the race and being left 5 lengths clear come the last. In which case, even if he did want to throw it away, he wouldn't. He just couldn't. So that would be my concern with him. Nicky Henderson said at the press day that he didn't have anything in the Neptune. Was Kilcrea Vale was in the race, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And then, anyway, now Vita de Rock is in. It's no surprise that it's a surprise that Vita de Rock is in. It's a reasonable dart to have because of that form with parlour games. I agree with the guys. I haven't, for whatever reason, I haven't really taken to parlour games, and I'm not that convinced by the earlier season trials form with Vita de Rock and parlour games. So for that reason, I've passed them up. Tellus Moore's also in the betting. Willie Mullins said after Tellus Moore made the running and got beat by the outside, the stable companion who's a big price whose name escapes me last time out, that they'd probably that's the badger. They'd probably drop it back in trip. So whether he stays, they might have done a bit too much too soon. But I'd just be concerned about stamina with him. So I'm looking at it and I'm picking holes in a few of these horses. Nichols Canyon's too short for me. I'm not convinced about Outlander. Windsor Park, I think, is more a horse for the Albert Bartlett, actually, because if you look at the 2 runs, he's been niggled along early in his races, and he's done okay late on. I know what you're saying about his jumping. I think he's a stayer, a good ground stayer. I think he's got a bit of talent, this horse. I think keep an eye on him if he runs it. I'd prefer to see him in the Albert Bartlett, to be honest. Whether, whichever route they decide, we'll see. But if he's in the Albert Bartlett, I wouldn't dismiss him. And then I'm left with Ordo Abchao, who I think is far too big a price on what he's done. He's beaten a leading fancy in the Albert Bartlett, who tried to come back at him. He really tested him and made him work for it. He's had one blip, and it was just a race where you can just scribble out, I think. It was on deep ground at Sandown. He didn't give his running that day. He was much better the other day at Cheltenham. That's strong form, I think. And because he was a big price that day, I think people are sort of assuming it was a bit of a fluke. But I think this horse is a lot more talented than people are giving him credit for. Alan King knows the time of day, and I think he's very confident that this horse will go pretty close. So for that reason, I think even though he had that blip at Sandown, I think he's a reliable option who brings good form into the race, Cheltenham form. and he's overpriced. So he's the horse I'm siding with in the Neptune.
Yeah, Order Abkeo is currently available at 16 to 1. Anything else to add from any of you guys about any other members of the field before we move on to the Albert Bartlett and take in our selections?
I think Paul Nicholls has missed the trick here. Back in October or November when Tara Point won her first Novice Hurdle, I actually looked at this race for her, and she was 29s on Becker, and I thought she's worth a tenner, and she ran really well in open company. The ground was probably too soft for her, and then she won at Taunton. I thought this race had been perfect for her, and then Paul Nicholls has pulled her out both races. So I think he's missed the trick with her, because getting the £7, I thought she would have been very dangerous in this race.
Yeah, I would echo those sentiments because I also backed her for the race.
I didn't realise.
Order Abchow, I think, is really respected on form. I'm just personally worried about the ground. I think if it's going to be proper good ground, then I'd be worried about him because he does seem to need a bit of cut. At Sandown, I think it was actually the opposite, and it was too deep for him. So I just think he needs to get his toe in a little bit. So if it's good ground, I'd be worried about him. But if it's nice, good to soft, bordering on soft ground, I think he's a really, real big player.
Yeah. Well,
he's got good bumper form behind Ballybolly on reasonable ground at Aintree.
Yeah, but he was a decent run, but look at that form. It's dreadful. In the front, and I really do think he's a horse that needs a bit of cut in the ground for his best to be winning a race like this, definitely.
Yeah, that's right. He's probably talking through your pockets a bit with Tara Point there, Adam. We're going to start with you for just to summarise our selections for the Neptune. Adam, you go first.
Beast of Burden for me to win, and I'd tentatively put up Order of KO each way.
Yeah, so two big prices for you then, Adam.
Yeah, I'm really, really sweet on Beast of Burden.
Yeah,
1 second.
That's fair enough. Yes, we've lost Adam. Calum, your selection.
I've really not got a strong fancy, but Vita de Rock, if I had to choose anything, I think I would have put him in the Albert Bartlett, but I agree with that. But I think he'll run his race. I think he'll go quite close.
Yeah. Ollie?
Ordo Ab Cal for me. I think he's far too big a price.
Yeah, I'll side with Adam on Beast of Burden, who was impressive enough on winning at Bangor, obviously beating Mendip Express, who may or may not have been 100% on that occasion, but did it nicely enough. Won at 2 miles and 3 miles, so dropping back to 2 mile 5, I don't think will be any problem whatsoever. He's proved that he has the pace for this demand anyway. The Albert Bartlett is up next, the Stayers division of the Novice Hurdles. Black Hercules currently heads the market at 6 to 1 with No More Heroes at 7. So then we go down to Value at Risk at 12 to 1, along with Martello Tower. Black Lion is 14s, along with Karachi Apache, Thomas Brown, and Windsor Park. It is then bigger, the remainder at 20 to 1. Ollie, one of the more wide open races of the Cheltenham Festival here, with a 6 to 1 favourite in a novice event. Black Hercules has been ridiculed a little bit leading up to the festival, though.
Yeah, I look back at his races today, and that heavy ground win at Court, was it, I think. I thought he stayed on really well. I thought he saw the trip out well. He's obviously going to need to step up, and it was a small field affair, but I think he's probably been painted with a slightly harsh brush at this stage of his career. He was really disappointed, wasn't he? And after that good run in the bumper last time out of last season at Punchdown, but from what he's done this year, I've struggled to really crab him. He's not my idea of the winner, but I think he'll give a good showing, and I think that what you need is a stayer, and he proved to me last time out that he stays in deep ground. So he proved at Cheltenham as well that he can go on good grounds, and he's got Cheltenham form. That was a really good run in the bumper over what we know now is probably an inadequate trip. So there's very little wrong with him, I think. But my idea of the winner is coming from England for once, because I don't think they'll win many this year at Cheltenham.
Yeah, unfortunately, you're going to be disagreeing with another panel member on that. Callum, you're strongly against Black Hercules, aren't you?
I would say strongly against, but I am against him. I can definitely take him on at the prices. It's just not a horse that I've really warmed to, for one reason or other. I just haven't particularly warmed to him. And of the Irish lot, I do prefer No More Heroes. So I think you can. I mean, if you scrap that last run, which I think you easily can because he scoped dirty, you scrap that run, he would be 7 to 2, 4 to 1 shot in this. because his form previously was very impressive. I was really impressed with him the time before, over 2.5 miles, when he's very much looked to stay as well. I think he can easily bounce back, and I'm pretty keen on him. I think he's got a very good chance. And there's horses in this that I'm either strongly against or quite strongly for, to be honest. Value at Risk, I really can't have whatsoever. I know he's quite strongly fancied by a few, but I'm just not convinced by him. I think also he might struggle to settle over 3 miles, if I'm honest. I mean, he's quite a keen going sort, and I just don't particularly rate him, to be honest. Martello Tower as well, I think that form's pretty weak. And Karachi Apache, who won that Doncaster race last time out, he's a good horse, but he's still such a big baby. I think he's going to get caught out in this. And Black Lion, I think, is one of the best each-way bets at the festival, to be honest, at 14-1. He went in that Doncaster race. Him and Zero Shades of Grey, from about 1.5 miles out, had a battle between themselves, and they kind of knocked each other out in some respects, because Karachi Apache came and took him on late on, and Black Lion was super impressive when he won over 3 miles in the Albert Bartlett trial at Cheltenham. Absolutely bounded up the hill. Sam Twiston-Davies is on, no disrespect to Ryan Hatch, but Sam Twiston-Davies being on is an obvious positive, because Hatch wouldn't be able to claim in the race. Black Lion, yeah, I really like him. I cannot see him out the first 3. I think he's perfectly suited to a good ground 3-mile race like the Albert Bartlett. He doesn't have to lead for me either. He ticks plenty of boxes for me. If the ground got softer, I'm a big fan of Definitely Red, but I don't think he'll run. But Black Lion each way, I think, is one of the best bets of the festival, to be honest.
Yeah, I think we'll be agreeing on the panel 2 versus 2 with Black Lion and Value at Risk, because Adam, you're quite keen on Value at Risk, despite what Calum says.
Yeah, I can understand his concern about him being keen. I can definitely understand that. I thought he settled better last time at Cheltenham, though, and the way he stayed on up the hill just suggested that the Albert Bartlett was the right race for him at the festival, because I think he would have been done for towing the Neptune. I really like this horse, and as I've alluded to earlier in the year, I didn't put him in my horses to follow lists because of where he was being trained at the time. He's now with Dan Skelton, which I think is a major positive. The thing about this race is there are so many horses I put in horses to follow lists, and most of them are in this, and most of them are going to run. So it's sort of a race where I'm sat scratching my head. I've got about 5 or 6 that I really, really rate. And Value at Risk is one, No More Heroes is another, but as I said the other week, No More Heroes, the original plan wasn't to come here at the start of the year. They said that if they missed Cheltenham with him, it wouldn't be a worry. I view it as, I don't know how to view it. You could view it as a positive, in the fact that they think he's ready for it, or you could view it as a negative, as that they're not sure what they're actually doing. Well, can't really say we're not sure what they're doing with the horse. I know what they're doing with the horse, but they rate him as a Gold Cup horse, and at this stage in his career, could this come too soon for him? I agree with Calum on what he said about Black Lion. That is one of the each way bets of the week at 14s. I can't believe he's that price, because as Calum said, him and Zero Shades of Grey really cut each other's throats, which allowed Karachi Apache in. Karachi Apache himself, I couldn't have. If he's colliding with the running rail, God help him going down to the start through that chute. Because if we have a similar thing to Port Mellon, it could be pretty nasty. Anything else? If the ground did come up soft, I agreed with Definitely Red, but I also like Fletcher's Flyer as well. I think 3 miles around Cheltenham would suit him better than 3 miles around Haydock, and he just looks a real stayer and a really nice horse for next year. Is there anything? Black Hercules I'm actually against. I can't buy that hype around him as well. I didn't think he jumped particularly well at Cork. If he makes a mistake late on, I could see him struggling. I mean, he can go with a gallop, and good ground isn't a concern, but his jumping for me, it's almost as if he's too big for hurdles. He's not nimble enough to get out of trouble. If I had to give you the winner, I think Value at Risk would be a likely winner. Any each way prices? We already said there's one at an each way price, actually.
Well, Value at Risk is 12. That's good enough, isn't it?
Yeah, that's an each way price, yeah. And Shanty Bob at 33s, actually.
What do you want, Adam?
Shanty Bob at 33s is worth a mention because he's in a wind up, and I remember that day at Warwick when I put him up and I said that nothing would beat him, and yeah, he got beat. It transpired that he had a wind problem, and he's in a wind up, and he could go well at 33s because he's looked a real stayer, and 3 miles will really suit him well as well. But Value at Risk will be the only selection for me.
Yeah, Ollie, you're a fan of Value at Risk as well. I assume you'd have no complaints in taking 12-1 each way, unlike Adam.
Yeah, I wouldn't be ringing up asking for 16s, Adam. I'll just take the 12s and be happy.
No, I was saying it in the way that it's a win selection. I wouldn't put it up each way.
No, I could do better. I think he's a good. Look, I mentioned it in the Neptune. I think that's a good piece of form. I think it was, it's palpably clear that he wants further because of the way he sort of got outspeed a little bit and then really fought to the line. He hasn't been beat that far. Step up and trip's going to suit. I actually was on a preview, preview panel last night with Dan. Said it took him about 10 days to get over that run, but he's got him where he wants him now. He's happy with him, and like I said, I just think the step up and trip. I think I think that will prove to be a decent race. I like that form, and I haven't been blown away by any of the Irish, which I know Calum will disagree with, but well, certainly with No More Heroes. There are a couple of other. I mentioned Windsor Park as well. If he's in the Albert Bartlett, I'd be interested in him. I think he's a horse that will appreciate this trip as well. Some of his earlier form from earlier on in his career is strong. I think his form this year, actually, all things considered, is okay over what I believe is an inadequate trip. So for that reason, I'd side with him as well. I've got about 8 on my ticket now already, but there we go. Value at risk, Windsor Park. And then another one, Thomas Brown. Sorry, I've got a terrible cough, lads. I apologise. He beat Robbins Firth, Zero Shades of Grey, and Different Gravy when he won at Cheltenham. He's got course form. He's got form on good soft ground. That form's been franked by a couple of angles. Different Gravy, who never looked like winning for a long way, but did win the other day. And Zero Shades of Grey, whose form ties in with Karachi, Apache, and Blackline. So I think that's decent form, actually. And he's a horse that, we all go on about it, but Cheltenham form, etc., etc. I think he showed a good attitude that day. I like him as a type. I think he's honest, genuine. He knuckled down. Harry Fry's keen on his chances. And as I say, I think that's reasonable form, and I think he's slightly overpriced as well. So they're the 3 that I'm interested in for that race. Value at risk, Thomas Brown, and Windsor Park if he runs. But I think of the 2 horses that I think are slightly overpriced, it's Value at Risk and Thomas Brown.
Yeah, we should mention very quickly as well that we did a video, our first Cheltenham preview with Nick Schofield, and Sam Twiston-Davies made a very brief appearance. Nick Schofield gave his whole nap of the whole meeting to Fletcher's Flyer in the Albert Bartlett. Whether Fletcher's Flyer is going to be running, what was that, Oli?
He was.
Ignore him.
He did mention no Fletcher's Flyer, though.
Actually, do you know what? Fletcher's Flyer, when he won at Wincanton, I thought he looked monstrous. I thought he was a beast. Yeah. I think I was there that day with Jonathan, and I remember going like, "Is this a rubbish race? Like, what are we dealing with here?" And I remember Nick coming back in, and he was like, "That was really impressive." I was a bit disappointed he didn't win last time out, though. I think he probably, if I wanted to win an Albert Bartlett,
I really like that form because I really rate Definitely Red. I think both of them are serious chasers next year. But yeah, I think he lost nothing in defeat last time. To be honest, I think was he giving weight away as well?
Yeah. The horse in third Balor.
I think he might do a bit too much and then get reeled in again. Do you think?
I think there's very little between them. To be honest, I want to take a positive view on both of them. So I think they're both really solid horses, but I think they both need a bit of cut in the ground. So they're unlikely runners in the Albert Bartlett.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Right, so it's going to be 2 versus 2 with Value at Risk and Blackline. Myself and Calum are both on Blackline, and Adam and Oli on Value at Risk. That's all the 3 races that we're going to be covering this evening. We do have some questions in from you guys on Twitter. If you want to send in any last-minute questions to be read out and put to the panel, then you can tweet us at On The Other Hoof, and we will start going through the questions now. Kai Wills, first one in. This is a horrible question for you, Oli, so I apologise for this.
Why are my teeth so big? Is that what it is?
No, but if you'd like, is there an answer to that? Or?
Well, no, but actually, there is an answer. When I was about, my mother and father, that's their responsibility. But when I was 12, I had a dentist. I don't know why I'm saying this. I had a dentist called Dr. Chin, believe it or not, and he said my face would grow into my teeth. And if you look at the size of your face compared to the size of your teeth, you'd realise that was quite a tormenting thing to be told as a young boy. Hence why I was bullied in the playground. There we go. I'm over it now, clearly.
You won't be ready.
Anyway, we digress. What's the question? Sorry.
You won't be ridiculed here, don't worry. We all have hideous speeches about ourselves. Kai Wills is the first question. Could you ask Oli who's the best tips that he's had on Racing UK? I assume you're not going to put yourself up for that answer.
Well, me and Chris Dixon's a good friend of mine. Me and him talk about racing a lot, and I think he's a very, very good judge. So my answer would be Chris Dixon, but there are a few Steve Mellish is very shrewd. Jonathan Neeson's very shrewd. I mean, there's a lot of people who are very shrewd, but from my experience, because I guess I talked to him most about racing, it would be Chris Dixon. I think him and his brother Martin Calum knows from time to time.
Yeah, very knowledgeable.
But young lads, I think, and also as well, you know, it's like anything, they put an awful lot of time into it. So it would be them or Chris.
Yeah, we'll tweet this video to Chris later for a few brownie points for yourself.
Yeah, no. I get a cut. Every plug I give him, I get a cut. So it's all good.
Kai then asked you a serious question, and what's your best bet for Cheltenham?
Ooh, my best bet. I think it is Brother Brian in the Temps.
Ooh, I like that as well.
I really like his horse. I think the form is rock solid from his 2 wins over shorter trips. I think that run behind Rock on Ruby, the handicapper at the weight said he took a lesser view of it than I obviously did. I think he kept it on 144 or something. Anyway, he basically said it was a muddling race and it wasn't, you know, I don't think he was flattered to finish as close as he did, etc. I thought he was staying on really well late on against some proper horses at Cheltenham. I think it's really, really strong form, and I think not only that, but I think the runs beforehand. I spoke to Huey in the week, and he said that we're stepping him up in trip because we need to find a bit of improvement in our mark. But I think the improvement is going to come with the step up in trip. So there's stamina, lots of stamina on the dam side of his pedigree. He's a really lengthy horse. I just think that he's an ideal candidate for the Temps. But you know, there's 10 horses that are probably very well handicapped in there. But for me, I think he's honest, genuine, strong form coming into it. Lightly raced, I think he's got everything you'll need on your side for a good run in the Temps.
Yeah, you're agreeing far too much with Adam ahead of this Cheltenham Festival.
I nearly fell off my chair when I found out he'd only gone up £4. I thought it'd have gone up a lot more for that.
Yeah.
So when I saw he was on 144, I was sort of like, oh wow.
Yeah.
I was quite pleased with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good luck with that, guys. Kai has then gone on to say something that I'm going to get Oli to reiterate on. The panel's view on Windsor Park for the Neptune must be a walk in the park for Windsor Park. 3 out of 10 on the effort for trying to word that carefully, Kai. But Oli, you prefer him in the Albert Bartlett, don't you?
Yeah, it's only because of the first mile of his run behind Nichols Canyon last time out, where he was just ridden along. He got shuffled back a bit. He just got a little bit outpaced, and then he sort of stayed on past horses after being weighted within last. I think it was a good effort, but it was an effort that to me suggested the further he goes, the better he'll go. So for that reason, I think he's more of a candidate for the Albert Bartlett. However, in saying that, if Dermot did put him in the Neptune, I think it was probably because, as we've gone through here today, I think a lot of the Calum, Adam, and yourself have mentioned that there's the Albert Bartlett, I think's a wide open race this year, and I think you can make a case for a few of these. Whereas to my eye, I think the Neptune, you can sort of narrow it down. So that might be why they decide to go down that route. But I think in the long run, Windsor Park will be a horse that needs further than 2.5.
Yeah,
and I think he probably needs it now as well.
Yeah, there's a fair amount of people that would agree with that view as well. One for Adam now with Dan Smith. Auto Webb KO has won the main trial for the Neptune and is 16 to 1. It'd be half the price if trained by Nichols or Henderson. I wouldn't agree with that being half the price one, because Alan King's a very respected trainer and one of the top ones in that as well. But Auto Webb KO, Adam, has got to have a huge chance in the Neptune.
Yeah, I agree with that. As me and Ollie keep reiterating, that Cheltenham trials they form is rock solid, and you've got 1 or 2 of them running in handicaps. I mean, you've got Thistlecrack in the Imperial Cup, which I'm really interested in, and I think 1 or 2 of them could easily win that and then get a penalty for potential handicap at the festival. So, it's a really, really strong race, and a lot of them are going to make lovely chases as well. Sounds like a cliche, but they are. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Jamie Brownlow in next. In the Supreme Novices, what do we think of QE's chances? He ran well at Newbury, the ground should suit. Are we with him? I think we were pretty much firmly all against QE, who was put up by Price-Wise a few weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm probably will.
Yeah, I think we'll discuss that one.
Track. I prefer him on the flat track.
Yeah, more an Aintree horse, definitely.
I'd go with that. The form of that race has worked out.
He beat a good horse in Cardinal Water the last time out and absolutely thrashed him, and they rate that horse, and he's obviously won since. So, but I thought he was a bit quirky on the flat. I don't particularly like him on the flat, and I don't think he's going to be up to the demands of the Supreme, if I'm honest.
We saw that in his hurdling debut at Haydock when he was just, it may not have been a quirk, but he was hanging in towards the rail. He may have been good enough to win that day, but he just didn't really convince when asked for his final effort. On the other hoof, mega fan Hattie Fuller, who, Ollie, you know, don't you?
Yeah, I do. Tipstar.
Yeah, we've upgraded her to an on the other hoof mega fan, which she's adored. So let's stick with that. Seedling is my each way bet for Supreme. Seems to be an overlooked, but has Cheltenham form. Was there any one of us that didn't hand Seedling a good chance?
I didn't mention him. I give him a chance. That form with some plan I really like. So, and the horse in third, Padge, is a horse I like as well. I can see him running well, and also a couple of people that may be watching will be hoping that Seedling runs well for the Wild Blue Yonder form boost, which I keep seeing.
God, we've had enough of them.
Oh, I love Wild Blue Yonder.
I think Hattie has been watching because she then followed up that tweet 2 minutes later with hashtag Team Seedling. So I think she's adopted Calum and Ollie on that team for that. So congratulations, guys.
Good. It's a good team.
She's then gone on. She's pretty much mimicking whatever we're saying, but saying it before us. I think Order Up Care has got a great chance. Opinions. We just answered that, so we won't digress any more on that. Ryan West has sent in a lucky 15 that he's put on. For Cheltenham in the handicap on day one, the Druid's Nephew. That's the first handicap of the race. Adam fancies that. Me and Callum could not be more against the Druid's Nephew.
I don't know what to say. I mean, look at his Cheltenham run, how much he's absolutely dogged it. I know the form's good, but the horse, he's so hard to win with. I know he's going to come there, go really close, because he's going to be travelling there and going really well, but I just can't have him winning at all.
Yeah.
I thought Garrity gave him too much to do that day. And then, as a result of him giving him too much to do, Sam Winner was always going to find him front. So,
yeah,
it shows how well
Sam Winner's a horse as well, where, I mean,
you're in the right profession, Ollie.
He makes horses look like they dog it because he's so genuine, basically, I think.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced by him personally, but.
I'm not. I think the Druid's Nephew's done that too many times now. I remember him coming there travelling really strongly in the Hennessy and just doing exactly the same thing and not finding much. His second leg of that lucky 15 is Au Petit Soin, who Nick Schofield flagged up as a horse to follow when he joined us on the other hoof, and has since been subject to a gamble. So we're going to claim a lot of credit for that gamble on Au Petit Soin. Brother Brian, for the potency, agrees with Ollie and Adam on that, and Le Mercury in the Martin Pipe. So good luck with that, Ryan.
A good lucky 15, I'd say. I like that. Wouldn't back all four of them separately, but I like all four of them selections.
I'll give him one. Darryl Price, give me some words of hope for Beast or Burden. He's on 180 to 1. And then he says he's a big fan of the show, so thank you very much, Darryl.
Please say it's in the Neptune, because if it's in the Neptune, that's a brilliant price. If it's in the Albert Bartlett, I'd feel really sorry for you.
Yeah, in the Neptune, he'd have a huge chance, in my mind. I've backed him each way at a slightly shorter price of 16 to 1, but yeah, I think he's got a huge chance. Derek Gamble-Punt is agreeing with Hattie Fuller, saying, I like this one, King in a bit of form, but there's no way I'm getting his name right. He's then gone for Adorbo Abab Chahuhu.
That's close enough.
Yeah, Ollie, if you need me to say that name on the Neptune, you can just watch this video back. Lee Paddock has said, will you be putting your selections up on the website? Yeah, well, we probably will be. We're also doing this thing during the week of Cheltenham. We're going to be doing a tipping competition, so that'll be myself versus Calum Madell versus Adam Webb versus Michael Andrews. And we've also touted George Gorman, who won it last year, jockey down with Gary Moore, and we also got Martin Smith, trainer in Newmarket, who will be taking us on. And also, we'll have a competition running tomorrow evening on Friday, where one of you guys could potentially join us in that competition, but we'll elaborate a bit more on that tomorrow evening. Jeff Handley has come in. Beast of Burden at 16-1 is decent value for the Neptune at Cheltenham.
Yes.
Everyone seems to be tweeting in fancying the same horses here.
This is good.
Yeah, this is
We're
good.
all going to be very rich or we're all going to be very poor by the end of this festival.
Yeah, we'll all be poor. There's absolutely no doubt about that. Really no doubt. That is all the questions that we have.
I've got one more.
Oh, you got one.
JK Caster direct messaged me because I don't know why. It's on the other Hoover account. Yeah, he says that a lot of John Ferguson horses are getting mentioned for the festival, and the question is which one of his string are going to break his festival duck? And whatever horse it is, can they maintain progress in top races and be amongst top races in time to come? If he had one, Parley Game would probably be the one.
Sorry, yeah, I didn't mention this earlier. I thought you guys were a bit harsh on Parlor Games.
I didn't really
It's
talk
not a
about
horse
him.
that. It's not a horse that I would typically like, being a flat horse coming over and tackling the big novice hurdles. But I mocked him when he beat Blackline, saying that they didn't really go fast enough in that race, and his flat speed won it. But for the Challow, when he won that, I thought he was very, very impressive. He travelled into the race really strongly, but then he picked it up quite a way out just after the last. It's a long run-in at Newbury, so his flat speed didn't win him that race. It took him to the front, but then he stayed on in really good fashion on ground, softer than he would like, really, to be ideal for him. So on faster ground, I think Parlour Games will be an interesting candidate. So I have him down as a contender for the Neptune, and he'd probably be John Ferguson's best chance of the festival to answer that question.
Yeah, it would be. I'm trying to think of others. Well, he did have Purple Bane champion hurdle who's no longer running. He did have Chesterfield and the county hurdle, but I would have given a squeak to.
Arabian Revolution in the Fred Winter.
Oh, that.
I think
yeah.
is one of his likeable chances. I mean, he's won two of his 3 starts, and he bumped into Beltor on the other. So I think that's pretty solid form. He's very well bred. He's not stood that much racing on the flat. So yeah, I think he's a likeable enough type.
And he's also got the settlement in the Triumph as well, but I don't think he'd be good enough.
I think I heard somebody say that Government wasn't running, or was it just in the Fred Winter?
He misses the Fred Winter, yeah.
Yeah, okay. And one final tweet in is from Kevin O'Malley, just in capital letters with 4 exclamation marks. He's just gone for Jolly Allen, just pretty much screaming it.
There's a tweet he did. I'm going to have to find it, because he said something, if Jolly Allen didn't finish in the frame, he would do something. I forgot. No, he shaved his eyebrows, that's it. So if Jolly Allen doesn't finish in the frame, I think he said he'd shave his eyebrows.
Poor Kevin and his eyebrows, they're gone.
This is O'Malley.
I think I agree with you guys on Jolly Allen. It's a horse that I like, but he'll be a better chaser next year. That's all that we have this evening. Ollie, your best bet of the festival was Brother Brian. Is there anything else that you're looking forward to seeing?
Bywise, who I'm sure you're all going to go, no, don't.
Oh,
No, I'm with.
If he jumps, he's got a huge chance, hasn't he?
But that's the problem. Everybody says if. He doesn't jump.
It was soft ground in the Paddy Power. It was good ground when he won the Grade 2 by 9 lengths. He's got a couple of hurdle entries, a couple of chase entries. This horse is chucked in off his mark if he can get it together, and I'm going to put last time out. I mean, his record over fences is 4 wins from 7 starts, so it's not, he's got an over 50% strike rate over fences. He was only beat 3 lengths after jumping terribly throughout. In the Paddy Power, which is one of the, as you all know, the most competitive handicap chases early on in the season. He only needs to jump 2 better to be winning that race. Do you know what I mean? So to a point, I know that's a very layman's way of looking at it, but he's chucked in off his mark. So if he can get it together, he's a good price, I think.
What do you think his most likely target is? I haven't really looked at him.
He's the 2-5 and the 3-1, isn't he? I think people are talking about him as the 3-1. What is it? The Steel Mirror.
I think I'd rather see him in that one actually.
Well, the 3-1.
I think he'll stay well.
He won over the
What's that?
Then Jolly's cracked it as well in the Martin Pipe. I think this is a horse with a lot of talent. I think
is that definitely his target? Jolly's cracked it.
Yeah, I spoke to Harry Fry yesterday. He said that's the plan. So
okay.
The only thing I'd be worried about with him is just a bit immature, I think, on the whole. But his run last time out, I think, will be make a man of him. So
I thought he ran a belter in the Betfair. I thought it was a really, really good run.
He was unlucky, and a lot of people are making out about Arsel being very unlucky. But I know that Jolly's Tractor didn't have anywhere near the interference that he had, but he had plenty to do. And I was really impressed by the maturity he showed in that against some real battle-hardened handicappers. His jumping will need to improve a little bit, but as I say, that experience under his belt, going to the festival, is a massive relief for me as a supporter of his, because he can run well in a big field handicap, and I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's a much better horse than 140.
Yeah, I was a big fan of him in the bet, but I think it was just immaturity probably that cost him quite a bit that day. But going to the festival battle-hardened is never a bad thing. Anything else to mention before the end of the video?
Buy-wise, I think Barrakilla goes for the 3 mile 1 race. And
yeah, the 2-5. People are talking about him going for the 2-5, but
yeah, I've heard that.
Well, I'd rather see him over in 3-1 personally, but I think if he more
the 2-5. He's
a course and distance winner, so not that I'm using that as a for argument for me, because it's an if with him. I feel like Monetera
you fancy the Druid's nephew, so whatever. Oli. Yeah. Oli, thanks very much for joining us this evening, and a quick turnaround from being on RUK today.
Yeah, I whizzed it back. Luckily, the traffic wasn't that bad, so I made it back in time. But no, a good show, and then heading down to Cheltenham on Monday. So looking forward to it, and I'll see you all there, will I?
Obviously not. No.
By the way, Oli, I enjoyed the Cheltenham advert.
Can we have Oli? Can we have a wink on the other hoof?
That advert. I've been cut out of that in every other one I've seen since the debut. It got cut out. But,
I can't believe that.
Yeah, that was one of those things where I did it and I thought, why have I done that? And then every time I've seen it since, I keep thinking, why did I do that? And anyway, I won't do it again.
You're the Luke Harvey of RUK then, with the Sprinter Separate Train gig.
Oh, that.
I've called worse, to be honest, Luke, so I'll take that.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us tonight, Oli. Same goes for Calum and Adam. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us, and yeah, thank you. We will be back tomorrow evening for our weekly preview of Saturday's racing. We may also be back on Sunday as well, as we do preview the handicaps and give our best handicap bets. We're trying to get a special guest on for that, so you can keep posted on that progress on the other hoof, Twitter page, and we'll keep you up to date with everything. We are also going to be doing a preview the night before each race day at Cheltenham, starting on Monday, and then, well, hopefully we'll find a few winners throughout the week. But thank you very much for joining us this evening. You can leave any comments if you're not watching this live in the comments section below, and we will get back to you on that. But thank you for watching this evening. Have a good festival and good luck.